Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve Larziliere. Today's guest is Kyle Hamill from Trails End Custom Construction. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Why don't you tell everybody about Trails End? How'd you get started?
Sure, yeah. So started out, I was working. I grew up working on farms. Kind of learned to be handy and learn how to use tools and get creative to work around problems. And when I was in college, I was working in a bar, just in the kitchen of a bar, and figured I could make more money doing little side jobs and odd projects and stuff for folks. So I was taking anything I could get my hands on, whether it was, one day I would be painting the front door, the next day fixing a railing on somebody's deck. And kind of one thing led to another. I was quickly getting more traction in my college town, getting more traction in my hometown, which were about 2 hours apart. So I spent a lot of time running back and forth on the weekends to do small projects and stuff. And then kind of had a knack for the carpentry thing and really enjoyed and preferred the carpentry type projects that we were doing. And we had somebody reach out about building a deck that was going to be big enough that the IRS would probably freak out a little bit when they saw the deposit in a personal bank account. And so we said, hey, let's form an LLC, my brother and I. It was nights and weekends for both of us as we were kind of getting started, both in college and both in different towns, but using the LLC for our different little ventures. And kind of one thing led to another. It was pretty quickly a full-time gig for me. When I graduated college, I was, doing everything I could to stay busy, doing this type of work. And like I said, just kept on going. And that was kind of where Trails End started. Like I said, cabinetry, carpentry was the name of the game, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. And I took it full time, and it's been a blast ever since.
So while all your friends were looking for jobs, you literally had a company by the time you graduated.
Yeah. At that time, it was a little bit less of a true company and a little bit more of a, I'm just head over heels, jumped in too far, too fast, and I'm swimming and trying to keep up. And it was a blast. It was a party. And I really didn't know what I was doing. And so claiming the business owner title was definitely not something that I could hold over the head of my peers at the time. For most people, I was like, man, I'd do anything to have a normal job. But that's where we started. And that was the grind. And that was the story, as it is for everybody in the early years of a business. And definitely been a long time coming to where we are now, but yeah.
So was it the case that you didn't have to get a job after college?
That was the case. Yeah. Thankfully I was fortunate enough. Yeah. That, fortunate and unfortunate.
High five, dude. High five. That's incredible. Well, look, tough. Most folks go and work at a sub-wage job, to pay off their college loans.
Yeah.
And I remember my engineer friends and my accountant friends, they all had jobs graduating from school. And the thought of starting your own business was just not really a thing, right? It was it felt like a did people think that you were crazy?
I think that that family and friends, if they thought it, they didn't express it. I'm the youngest of 4 boys.
And you can mess up. You can mess up. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of my family is either in business ownership or is in leadership roles in lots of different capacities, and so thankfully my family just thought that I was a normal level of crazy. and owning a business is pretty isolating. So in that season, I didn't have a lot of friends to look at me and say I was crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, my wife certainly put up with a lot of me not being around in the early years of the business and early years of our marriage. That was it. I graduated college, started a business or took the business full time, and 3 weeks later got married. And so it was a lot of life transition all at the same time. But it's been a ride ever since.
How many years ago was that?
So that was 2018, summer of 2018. So it's been just over, well, 5.5 years, I guess now, full time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
What's been the biggest bread and butter for you guys?
So, yeah, in the early years of the business, I was a hobbyist woodworker, so to speak, in terms of my project size. I was building furniture and built-ins and stuff like that. And then I was primarily a trim carpenter. So I would trim houses. A lot of the customers were home builders. So I'd go in and I'd install all their cabinets, and then I would trim the whole house by myself. These were 3,000 to 5,000 square foot, semi-custom, 800,000 to $1 million homes around the greater Charlotte area, kind of thing, and installing cabinets, and then running trim. You learn to be pretty efficient pretty fast, because time is money, and footsteps are the name of the game, and being able to move fast and keep banging trim was how we made money in the early years. But I kind of realized I was being called upon to make magic out of mud, so to speak, with these cabinets, and I was installing, $10,000 to $15,000 cabinet packages in a $500,000 to plus dollar home, and I was kind of just fed up with the quality that I was given to then try to, on the install side, try to make good. I'm given a pile of parts and say, make a hood, and we were doing it. I mean, I could do it, but I was like, man, this would be 10 times easier and 10 times better quality wise if I could just do it in the shop. And so, kind of one thing led to another, and growing. We started out in a 1,200 square foot, little warehouse. And actually this week my team literally right now is moving all of our equipment into a 8,000 square foot facility, and we're, fully CNC equipped. And so bread and butter, to answer your question, we're a custom cabinet shop is 50% of our business. So we're building, high-end residential cabinetry and millwork. And then the other half of our business, my brother is a licensed general contractor. So he's doing
building homes.
Yep. Ground up new home construction is the other half of the business. So yeah.
And you rely on subs and trades to get that done?
Yeah, you got it. We have in-house, we have like on a part of our team, we have a field carpentry crew who does our cabinet install work, and then they'll do some of our trim carpentry on our home builds. And then we have an in-house flooring carpenter that does all of our flooring stuff as well. But other than cabinets, trim, and flooring, everything else is subbed out. And we have a strong sub network.
And you overlap some of the cabinetry folks with the house stuff, right?
A little bit, yeah. Our of course, the cabinet shop provides cabinetry for our home builds.
Yeah.
And then our teams overlap a little bit. But really they exist kind of in their own lanes for the most part, other than when we're called upon for cabinets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, congratulations. New shop.
Thanks.
Like that. Yeah. That must feel real good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a pretty surreal experience. I walking around 2 weeks ago, just walking around the space, just thinking back to the early years of 80-hour work weeks in a 1,200 square foot freezing cold warehouse, and going to where we are now. And the biggest thing is our CNC machine being able to cut cabinets with computers and not backbreaking.
Not with a table saw.
Yeah.
With the kickback and the sketchiness and all of it. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That is that's incredible. I mean, uh what keeps you, I mean, it kind of sounds like you're like really still in like growth phase, right? Like how do you stay sort of sane in all of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So early in 2022, so about a year and a half, well, a little over almost 2 years ago now, we were grinding like crazy. This was before CNC, before the bigger shop. We moved from 5,000 feet to where we are now. So we were, grinding like crazy, working like crazy, pushing wood through saws, doing it the old school way. We had kind of broken the threshold in the design space. We were 3D modeling everything, and at that time using SketchUp as a design platform. But
Yeah.
it was 6 weeks to build a kitchen of cabinetry, and we were so busy, so stressed, so overwhelmed with work, that we said, "Hey, look, we're developing a business right now that all we do is outsource." That was the home build stuff. That was when we kind of started building houses. And I was like, with sort of my lead team here, we were like, what if we started outsourcing cabinetry? Like, what, at that time we were building doors, drawer boxes, cabinet boxes, face frames, everything that went in, and we were doing all the finished work as well. And so, yeah, early 22, we were like, man, what if we started outsourcing and subbing, like we're doing on the home build side, as much work as we can on the cabinet side? And so we did. I mean, we were kicking, we outsourced finished work. We outsourced CNC work. We outsourced doors, drawer boxes, to where we were building custom parts. We were building unique elements. We were building hoods. We were building the fun stuff. And
Hmm.
then we're ordering everything else. And it allowed us to basically get our feet back under us, to where
Yeah.
we were able to kind of manage a really sophisticated process. We were still totally on the design side and totally on the install side, so the client never knew the difference.
Yeah.
But we were able to outsource, which gave us fixed cost, which gave us expected lead times, which gave us the ability to create schedules and projections and all of that stuff. And so, like, to answer your question, as we're growing, which we still are, but now our process stays the same. All we're doing, as we've turned money and grown our business and revenues and all that, all we're doing is we're slowly buying back some of those processes that we've been outsourcing for so long. So,
Mhm.
we outsourced CNC for a really long time. Then we bought a machine, hired an employee. So it's still the same process, where we pass that work off, but
Yeah,
rather than sending it down to the other side of Charlotte, we're just sending it out to the shop floor, which is right here. So,
for sure.
so the growth is certainly not the stressful, oh my gosh, we just have more work to do growth that it was for the first several years. Now, thankfully, and just honestly so thankful and so blessed to be able to say this, the growth is, number one, it's healthy, and number two, which is probably most important, is it's sustainable. We're
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
scaling a business. We're not just growing revenue and trying to keep up. So
I think some of the hard part in doing this is the size and scale of some of the stuff that you're doing is so big that if you do land that client project, you could go into like, oh, this is great, or oh crap, what did I get myself into?
yeah, that's super valid. We've definitely had our fair share of
Mhm.
both types. And the big thing ever since we started outsourcing, and we kind of had the wake up call early, we're like, oh, let's just outsource, we'll pay other people to do it. And we quickly realized, whoa, there's still a lot to manage in
Yeah,
this process. It's not
yeah,
just all of a sudden I don't have anything to do.
yeah,
Um, but really, it becomes extremely critical, mission critical, that we're just totally on top of our schedule game and our process. I mean, it is 100% process. I do a little bit of consulting with other business owners, and particularly folks in the cabinetry space. And the one thing that is just my drive home theme, it's, you have got to define your process, one thing after another. Our cabinet process, step one is me getting a phone call or a text, and step 276 is us sending a follow-up thank you note in the mail to our client. It's 276 steps of how to build a cabinet, and it is a critical path. I mean, you talk about Gantt charts and schedule organization and all of that.
Yeah.
276 steps that have to happen in sequential order in order for this to get done. And when you're overlapping, like we are, anywhere from 8 to 15, high-end residential cabinet projects that are going on at the same time, just in various stages of that process, any deviation to the path can be relatively catastrophic if we're either not aware of it or not totally on top of whatever that change brings about. That could be a design change, homeowners coming back and saying, hey, we actually want to do this, or designer getting involved and saying we want to do that. Or that could be material shortage. That could be, a sickness on, one of our guys gets sick. We're a pretty small team, and everybody plays a really significant role. And so, somebody's on a 2-week vacation. If we don't plan that around, 8 to 12 weeks out, we could have a serious problem.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. So,
where'd that level of sort of detail oriented come from in your life?
I would say, it's totally been a, fortunately or unfortunately, trial by fire. In the early years of the business, my brother, who is the general contractor and who is my business partner, was working full-time for a home builder just to gain experience and kind of build that sub-pool network and all of that on the home build side, prior to working full-time at Trails End. Though, like I said, he was still a 50-50 partner, just, again, just nights and weekends. And my brother and I are very much yin and yang. Anything that I'm good at, no, he's good at most everything, but most of the things that are my strengths are his weaknesses, and my weaknesses are his strengths. And so one of the big things, I think I would take the skill set of sort of visionary, hey, this is the pile of parts we're looking at. What can it be? What can it become? And kind of casting that vision for the long term. And my brother is, he's totally like detail oriented. Big time finance guy, has a background in finance stuff, and just like so much interest in it. And so our partnership is very give and take in that capacity. And then the team that's with us, we're so blessed to have such a powerful and skilled team, particularly in an industry and a day and age where everybody's complaint number one is it's so hard to find good people. And we have such an awesome team, and everybody, we operate on what we call an idea meritocracy, where everybody's voice carries weight. So anything that anybody wants to say and bring to the table, it carries weight. But certainly the longer you've been here and the more influence you've had in the business over the years, the bigger your voice is at the table. But we've made it important and made it a part of our priority that we're getting feedback as often as we can from our team to say, hey, what's working, what's not. Every Friday, it's a hits and misses. What's working, what's not, what's working, what's not, and just continuing to shape that process. And everybody seeing it from a different position, from a different role, from a different perspective. And then just us having the willingness to kind of take the hit of, okay, financially, this is not the most profitable thing that we can be doing today, is sitting down and having an hour-long conversation with the whole team about how we update our process flow when we're, when we're preparing a project to go out the door for finish or something. However, if we don't do this now, which we've seen so much in the past, we're going to just continue to push that ball down the road until it really does bite us and bite us hard when it counts. And so that's been our MO for the past, 2 years. Like I said, since we really started dialing things in on the business side is, you know, process, man. How do we update? How do we change? How do we shape? How do we evolve, as a business? And then, certainly keep our product, our commodity, and quality and all of that where it needs to be. The three P's that we talk about is, product, like what are we building and what's the quality like, process, like how are we doing it, and then people. Do we have the right butts in the right seats, or the right people in the right seat on the bus, and making sure that we're doing what we need to do from that product, process, and people perspective. So
That's is that Marcus Lemonis? Doesn't he say that in The Prophet? Do you know him?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. He kind of says a similar thing where, it's the product, process, and people, which that framework could actually be applied to every aspect of your business, which is
100%.
wild. Because like
Yeah.
I've used it on the content creation side, right? Like if you want to put out content, do your product, do your process, and do your people, right? Like that's
Well,
how you market your business.
yeah.
I'm curious, do you think your business and your attitude towards business and your approach, is it a result of you being the youngest of four brothers? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like diplomacy, making sure everybody's got a voice, the idea meritocracy, like having processes in place, right? Like, do you think between you and your brother, the fact that you're the youngest, I don't, is it four boys?
Yeah, four boys. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that has anything to like your upbringing shaped how you've designed your business?
I would say so, for sure. I think probably less of me feeling like left out as a kid and then wanting that to be changed for my team or something, and more of, that's the kind of leader that my dad was, when with
Mm,
us growing up, and he
yeah.
still is.
Because
I
you
mean,
grew up on a farm, right? You grew up on a
not on a farm. We grew up on property, but I grew up working on farms. So,
working on farms. Okay.
exactly, yeah. But
Yeah.
my dad's actually a physician and is in the medical field, but does a lot in our community and all that stuff as well. But that's the kind of dad he was growing up, was making sure that it's a 10-year spread between me and my oldest brother. And
Okay.
so, that spread alone was enough that, when my dad and my oldest brothers are building a tree house, I'm running around in diapers, right? And so,
Yeah.
but my dad always found a way to make sure all of us felt like we were needed, felt like we were a part of the process, a part of the whatever. And, I think the difference in business is sometimes you got to be willing to say, hey, if you're not making the cut, you're not making the cut. And dad's not going to do that to his sons. But I think that there is an element for sure of our culture as
Yeah.
a team at Trails End that has certainly been shaped by, by the experience that my brother and I had growing up, and both in different work environments, wanting to either change and make things better, wanting to emulate things that we've experienced in the past. That's probably my biggest, not necessarily regret, but biggest wish is, I didn't have any other real work experience other than like I said, like working
That's
in the
right. That's
kitchen.
right.
Yeah,
You bursted out of your BA degree with you have
that's
no
right.
frame of reference. You are permanently unemployable. You are
That's right. That's right. Yeah. 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 That's
Yeah.
exactly
I mean,
it. So
that's
I don't.
impressive. That's
I don't
impressive.
have that frame of reference of, hey, this is what. Now, granted, I will say, I said trial by fire. I have as best I possibly could. I have made myself a student of the game. I mean, I have studied hard on social media, and I mean, hours, days, weeks, probably of YouTube of some of the greats in the carpentry and cabinetry world, just going, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? Books on books and audio books. When it's 27 degrees and you're banging trim to a wall by yourself, you figure out ways to keep your brain moving. And so,
Yeah.
podcasts and honestly, stuff just like your podcast is just like, I mean, it is, which is a lot of my excitement to be on here, is just the recognition that this is the type of information that honestly that helped to make Trails End where it is now, is just other people being willing to put content out there and share their experiences. I have a lot of leaders around me, and I have a lot of business owners around me in the social setting, which I certainly can learn from. But I mean, I don't know. I don't have any friends that necessarily, other than business, people, friends that I've made in the industry. I don't have
Yeah.
other friends that are in this industry as well, really, at least not
Yeah.
local to me. And so, yeah, like I said, really just kind of pouring in and being willing to be a student of the game and say, hey, what have other people who have gone before me, what have they done and how have they found success, and what do I need to do to emulate that? And I'm not like, I wouldn't claim myself to be self-taught or whatever. It's more
Sure.
just,
Sure.
I was taught by the
So,
society around me.
self-educated. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, there you go. That's what I say.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that whole mindset changed my life, self-education. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the
Yeah.
idea of not realizing that there's a gap in your knowledge and that nobody's going to give it to you. You have to actually create it yourself.
Hmm.
Which is incredible. And to that end, it's like, aside from your brother, like this could be a pretty lonely kind of experience, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I would say before my brother came on, which was um 3 years ago, 2020. Yeah, the like Thanksgiving time, right around now of 2020. It was, I mean, it was the loneliest in life, that I've ever felt. And it's I would say, anyone that I've ever talked to in business ownership, when there's the struggle and the grind and all that stuff, man, like the first piece of advice I can give is find a partner. Doesn't have to be a full-on business partner, but
Yeah.
find somebody, whether it's a mentor or, in my case at that time, it was my spouse who, I was able to just process through what I'm struggling with and what's weighing heavy on my mind, and the good,
Yeah.
bad, and the ugly. And we're not built to do this life alone. And so, trying to
Mm-mm.
do one of the most, significant things you can do in your career and own a business on your own is a lonely game. And some people are built for it. Some people aren't.
Some
I'm not
people,
built.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
built to do it
I'm
by
not.
myself.
I'm not.
There's no
My my
way.
my very first business, I was like super alone. It was me and a business partner, but we were alone. We were like
Mhm.
in our own little world, and we still even weren't on the same page. And then the next time I did business, I was like, oh man, I think I'm gonna do things differently. And so like a lot of people in my neighborhood here in Chicago, I don't have people like me here. It's a
Sure.
bunch of sort of 9 to 5ers, but I created my own little community. I was just in Nicaragua with 30 of them. And,
Wow.
it's great to just be around, because then you get that energy. Because
Hmm.
I don't know, you ever get that feeling where you just realize that your decisions affect other people's livelihoods?
Big time. Yeah. Yeah. We
That's
have,
a wild feeling, right? That's a
yeah.
like, oh, because I came up with this idea, I now is it employing people and it's providing a living for people to pay their bills, go to the grocery store, fund their life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's both it's terrifying. It's terrifying. It's
Yeah.
also like one of the biggest honors that we're able to carry is like, man, like what a cool opportunity we have of both of influence of like, holy cow,
Yeah.
like these people are looking to me, but also just a privilege to go, holy cow, man, we're actually we're putting food on the table and that, yeah, there's nothing, I would say of all the things that our business has done and the projects and the cool things that we built and the whatever, the one thing I'm most proud of is the team and the culture that we have, and just the people. I mean, I'm so thankful. I'm so pumped to go to work every day. And it's not because I get to build this or I get to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
play with this cool tool or whatever. It's because I get to hang out with, with my guys, and I get to engage and get to solve problems and, get to find ways to make people feel successful in their role. And that's like, man, that gives me so much more energy than clicking on a festival domino, which gives me a lot of energy. Or I guess
Yeah.
these days
Yeah.
it's a LaMelo, whatever, and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. He said a Lamelo.
yeah, we just got
um.
one of those machines a couple months ago, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
I often think too. I mean, do you believe in God?
Yeah,
I feel like God wouldn't put you in this position if He didn't think that you could deserve it.
yeah. I think that's certainly a perspective that I have to fight. I mean, but you have to fight to believe that some days. Whether it's
For
hard, it's
sure.
hard to feel like you deserve something. Again, I carry it with so much gratitude and thanksgiving. But that's grace. It's undeserved. The definition of grace is undeserved favor, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think that us having the opportunity to walk in that grace every day and every week, and I mean I wake up at 4:30 every morning, and my first 30 minutes of the day is going, God, I don't deserve this, but thank
Yeah.
you that I'm here.
But thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's an honor,
Yeah.
and
I
it's
did that this morning. I like prayed. Oh, look at my dog just. My dog wants to go for a walk.
what pup wants a part of it. I hear you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm very much a uh yeah, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have and realizing that, like, yeah, if you're in that position, it's almost like you got the crown is yours. Like, you just have to act and believe and do everything you can to in order to serve, because ultimately you're a leader, but you're serving your clients, you're serving
Sure.
your employees, you're serving the mission of your business, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
um hey, so this is a part of the podcast where I give you any business marketing advice. Is there anything that you're struggling with that I can help you with?
Yeah, sure. Well, I appreciate that. So, yeah, an admission to say that I'm not struggling is not a reality. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I would say, we've found some success in the world here of cabinetry, and we've gotten on top of our processes, and we do a lot of work. But I think everybody's slowing down to some capacity. We've one of our team members is super graphically design, whatever, gifted, and he's built a really great website for us. We had a sort of luck of the draw. A couple of Instagram videos hit big, and we're in the like 14,000 count space on Instagram. But from like a marketing perspective, our ideal client is buying, maybe every 2 months they're buying, a full cabinet scope, which is for us, $80 to $150,000 cabinet scope. That's a
Yeah.
pretty unique client. And a lot of that world is very, very, very relational.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning like
Yeah.
you don't just get in with the big builders that are building the types of projects that we do. And so, we still do we do a wide array. We'll do a $15,000 built-in all the way up to a much bigger full house of cabinetry. But our ideal client and our ideal target audience is this, bad and bougie builders who are doing the big and the nice. And I think most people would say like that's their ideal client to some extent, but we've actually built systems and processes that can handle that. And we're challenged with the reality that our systems and processes now are built for that, and they're not built for Sally who wants a set of built-ins. And I hate to say it because that was our client base for a really long time. But this is a long-winded way of asking the question, which is, target marketing for somebody who's not buying on Instagram. These clients are not shopping for cabinets on Instagram. They're not picking up a Facebook or likely a Google ad and going, let me try someone new. So certainly, the easy answer is, well, you just got to build those relationships. But from a marketing perspective and just business strategy perspective, like breaking into that echelon of clientele that is unique, that is specific, that is largely not making purchasing decisions based on niche marketing, seemingly. What are your thoughts employing strategies to help kind of cut into that market? Like I said, we're in it to some extent, but we have more capacity than we have project load. And so we want to, rather than filling our schedule with these projects that we're not really built for anymore, how do we go after those clients? And again, in this world, it seems like cold calling is not me showing up at the office door and saying, hey, I'm Kyle.
Sure.
Pay me $100 to build cabinets. That's not gonna
I got you.
fly.
I got you. So the biggest thing is like how a lot of your ideal clients who are designers, architects, builders, right? They are they're not necessarily subject. It's all relationship driven, and the idea of like marketing, quote unquote, traditional marketing, to reach the homeowner, that isn't as effective to them. And you've built your company based off of those relationships on a higher production value. And so for me, I think a lot about the marketing that you're doing still holds, because depending on who you are, the like designers are very visual, so they're going to want to see that you have 14,000 Instagram and you take great photos and you do great work, right? Because that's the medium in which they speak. Builders, they just want to know that when you pick up the phone, they tell you what they want, you're going to just deliver it. So what you need to do is reverse engineer literally the archetype prototype of who those people are. And then make a list of 100 of them and make it a goal in the next year to form a relationship with 8 to 10 of them. And it's like, look at, all right, based off of who your ideal people are right now, like what are they? Is it 35 to 45? Is it 55 plus? Are they your dad's age? Or are they more about the sons of those people? So they're more like your age. And you can literally find out where these people are. And it's not that difficult. And they all have Facebook accounts. And I would, and some of them too, because you have your 14,000 followers, I would actually don't follow anybody that isn't your ideal customer, so that your feed shows up your feed and it's all your ideal customers. So you're liking, commenting, all of that sort of stuff. Because if they're active on the same medium that you are, then you both speak the same language. You see what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
So like if they're posting often, they're doing this, and then maybe they have a social media person. But that's great, because then you can have a DM conversation. Hey, are you the owner? Like, hey, I'd love to, and it's a simple thing. They're going to creep on your feed, and then you can say, hey, do you have any projects that you need bidding on in the next, 6 to 12 months?
Mm-hmm.
And it's either a yes or a no,
Sure.
period.
No harm, no foul. Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, no, awesome. I'll reach out. What's your personal thing? What's your cell phone number? And then you could say, oh, by the way, in January, February, we're doing a meetup of all of the developers in the area. And we're doing a shop opening because we just got a new shop.
Yeah, we've got one on the books. Yeah, end of January, we're doing exactly that.
So I would literally right now make a list of all of the top 200 builders, architects, designers in the area. I would get like a host from a TV station, and get them to be the host. I'd figure out how to get the mayor of your town to do a ribbon cutting and just invite people and just have beer, DJ. You do a giveaway, and then you just, at least at the very least, what will end up happening is that you develop. If people can't come, then they get added to your list, and then every month you just send them an email.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, if you do that, between scraping a list, engaging them on social media, on the platform, so like, and then once you find out who the owner is, friend them on Facebook so that they're seeing your stuff, you're seeing their stuff. Find out what else they're into. So if they're into golf, they're into hunting, they're into basketball. Like, I think honestly, you're in Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Dude, imagine the biggest flex would be to, like, I think personally, these $1 million bad and bougie people, if you were to have a suite at the Charlotte Hornets game and you invited 10 of them, who would say no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would say no?
Right.
Nobody would say no.
That's
and it'd be
true.
like, and they'd say, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm Kyle Hamill. I never had a job.
Yeah.
I've only been doing this.
That's right.
And it's me and my brother building homes and building cabinets. And I want to do business with you. I love basketball. I love the Charlotte Hornets. And yeah, let's do work.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's what, to me, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I would have a golf tournament and make it for charity, and like do it 6 months out. Like, this is the type of thing where those guys have so much money. They have so much money that there's nothing that you can do to impress them. They're not impressed by 14,000 followers. Maybe some of the people that are visually inclined, or maybe the ones that are trying to build up their personal brand. But what do you do? Like, fishing tournaments, friggin' basketball games, but suites, VIP suites, golf tournaments, hunting things, big ass trucks. Like, those are the things that they're into, right?
Sure.
So you just want to make sure that you're at the place where you can speak their language. Is that helpful?
No, yeah, that's awesome. I think it's challenging because the humble mindset of like, man, like it's a grind for all of us kind of thing. It's hard to feel like, man, I'm okay to like go out there and, and rub elbows or rub shoulders with those people. But the reality is, like, I'm not gonna win those clients and take their projects if I come in meek and humble. Not that you have to be cocky and arrogant, but you at least got to speak the language.
But look, those guys are not meek and humble. Those guys are playing. They're like big swinging, That's how they roll, because that's who their clients are.
Sure. Yeah.
Their clients they're not building multi-million-dollar houses and they're meek and humble. No. Like, they're driving Porsches, and they want to show the world. You only build a house like that to show your world and your friends that you've made it.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to work with people that represent that same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, if I can ask another question real fast.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So in that same headspace, like, we're real careful with like the branding that we put out so that we're not like I still drive a cargo van. It's a nice cargo van, but I still drive a cargo van because when I roll up on a job site, I don't want other contractors going, oh my gosh, here he is in his $80,000 truck or something. And
Mm-hmm.
and if I buy cabinets, I'm just funding a lifestyle. But there's a part of me, when we talk about, product, process, people, and we're displaying that, with our machinery and CNC and some of our technology stuff, like there's a part of me that's like, ooh, I got to be careful with what I'm putting out there so that I'm not discouraging someone else by saying, yeah, we have this, big shop and, nice equipment and all that stuff. Like, what is there a balance in your mind of like, hey, be careful sharing this, be careful sharing that? Don't, when it comes to being transparent on social media as a business to promote branding and growth and all that stuff, how do you find and define what that line is that you walk of sharing versus oversharing and producing content that's helpful to actually promote the brand, business, et cetera, versus just
No, I
throwing
get
something
it.
out
I
there
get
that
it.
comes
Yeah.
across as bragging.
I
Yeah.
get it. I think honestly, you gotta show what you have. You gotta show what you have. Like,
Yeah.
don't hide. Like, so I'll give you a quick example.
Sure.
1 minute. Met a guy, or I know a guy, an entrepreneur online, and he's like constantly taking pictures of himself in his like Ferrari or his Lamborghini. So he's got a Ferrari and a Lamborghini. And all of his comments are like, "Oh my god, that's amazing! That's amazing! That's amazing!" And somebody was like, "What made you just like make that like?" Because now he's like, because he's made that investment, like literally now he's getting invited to like Ferrari Formula One events.
Yep. And yeah.
He's meeting like the head designer of Lamborghini, right? Lamborghini's grandson. He's like homies with Lamborghini, and it's and one of the things that like he said was like, he said you kind of have to, you basically, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. You actually have to do something a little out of character to get the result that you want.
Sure.
So if it's a little uncomfortable, I would invite you to think about doing it.
Wow. Yeah.
It is a wild thing, and this is something I go back and forth with myself on. But I have a client, and an old client, and my former business partner. People know him on here, Jake. Jake, he literally shows you exactly what is in his shop.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, he had some profit, and his accountant told him to buy a big ass truck. So he bought the big ass truck, and he was like, I never in my life ever thought I would ever own anything like this. And everybody's like, yeah, we're rooting for you, Jake. We want you to win.
Yeah.
And you actually have to believe, like, hey, we got to be careful. We got to be careful. It's like, is that a limiting belief?
Wow.
Or is it actually true?
Yeah.
And I would question you to be like, more people want you to win than want you to fail. And so that's something that I would question. Does that helpful to hear?
I think that's great lange. Yeah, that definitely,
yeah, for sure.
definitely
I want you to think about, like, I don't know. I'm just always conscious, because I get it, because I don't want to flaunt too. But part of it is like, if you want to attract these, because you don't actually need a lot of people to kill it.
Right.
You literally need 5 people
right.
that you like take care of, and you send Christmas gifts to, and you know all of their kids' names, and it will feed you for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And if you start operating on their level, man, or at least thinking about and acting like it, that's gonna be incredible.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right. What's your website for folks? Is it
it's www.trailsandconstruction.com. It's just Trails and Construction. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, man. This is great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate the time. Appreciate all the
All right.
information as well.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Sounds good.